לא יודעת מה הם יעשו, תחשבי כאילו, איפה הם ישימו את הילדים?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I think we are ready to start. My name is Mazzig, and thank you for joining the Jimena social media training. I'm going to try and explore with you guys some of the social media tools and see how we can use them to better advocate for our community, for the Jewish community, for Mizrahi community, for Israel. Yeah, so it's very new for me to have a presentation done online. I know you can all hear me, but it's it'll be great if you can, there's a chat option, so maybe just say hi, your name and where you're from, so I can just see that everyone, you can click the chat option and just say, hi, I'm Chen from Tel Aviv, wherever you are from, just so I can see that if you can hear me well. Hey, Shoshana from New York. Hey, Logan, thanks for joining. Myra from Israel. Elisheva from Brooklyn. What's up, Elisheva? Eliza is here. Tamir. Okay, I won't be able to read all of you, but I guess you can all hear me. We have people from London, from Boston. So as we go forward, when you have questions, you can raise your hand on the, there's like an option to raise your hand. If you want to ask me a question, you can type it, and then I'll try and answer as we go, or if not, I'll keep it to the end. And yeah, we'll just get started. Keep your mic on mute because there's background noise, and I want to make sure that everyone can hear it best as possible. So let's get to it. Technology. I'm sorry, the presentation is not loading. Just 1 second. Okay, I think it's working now. Just a moment. All right. Yeah, now it's better. Okay, so briefly about myself, I'm a writer and a speaker. Been doing it for quite a while, mostly speaking about Israel, the Mizrahi community, Jewish community, speaking about anti-Semitism and how it relates to Israel. And recently, in the last few years, I found out that there's an amazing tool that I don't really have to go and speak in places that I can use social media to advocate for Israel by sharing my own personal voice. But it seems like the more I spoke about these issues, the more backlash I received. So this is some of the stuff that has been said about me online. Some crazy stuff, I have to tell you, but I'm showing you that because it's important to remember that not everything that we read online is right, but Some of these examples are really gut-wrenching for me, but a lot of times it's what keeps me going. I think one of the first things that I've done was to use social media, to use a video that AJ Plus posted. And I said, okay, I'll take this video that they posted about BDS and I'll make it into what it really is. And that's the video that I edited using their video to bring on my own message. You can watch it.
New law gathering support in the U.S. Congress would criminalize free speech and peaceful protest against Israel. 45 senators and 237 members of the House, both Republicans and Democrats, have co-sponsored similar bills that would make it a felony to support the BDS movement. BDS, or the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions Movement, is a response to calls from Palestinian civil society for nonviolent measures to pressure Israel to comply with international law and respect Palestinian human rights.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
At least 21 states have considered or adopted bills to ban state officials from doing business with anyone who supports the BDS movement. And BDS supporters across college campuses have come under attack with accusations of being anti-Semitic.
Fuck you, Jew! Fuck you, Jew!
Despite the fact that
Well, I think that's enough. I want to show you this video because that's an example of something that
movement enjoys.
Oops, sorry. It's an example of something that everyone can do. I mean, I did it using iMovies, just edited a video that was published and added something, real claims of BDS, real calls from BDS activists. And that resulted from a lot of backlash from Al Jazeera. But I think that the backlash was because it was so...
considerable support from...
Sorry again. Was because it was so honest. And I think that's... and it got a lot of exposure, and that's why they were upset. So why does social media matters? Young people are getting almost all of their news from Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter these days. You can see that the main source of news for people that are 18 until 24, I think that's a couple of years old, but today the numbers are even higher. People are using social media to consume and get most of their information. Donald Trump won thanks to social media. Simply put, Trump's campaign was more engaged with voters. That's an article from The Hill. We all know that President Trump and other world leaders are using social media for their advantage. And if you dominate social media, you can actually dominate public mind. But how do we know what's real? And what is quality over quantity? So a lot of times, someone has this microphone on mute. And everyone mute their microphone. All right, thanks. So quality over quantity. A lot of times we'll see some of those. I gave some examples of posts and events that you might see online. This post, the Stop Islamization of Texas, for example, that's a real Facebook event that was created in May 2016. But it was not a real event. It was eventually linked to Russian agents that were creating an online Facebook event, telling people to come to protest. And actually people came out to the street. The picture underneath is a picture of people coming to the streets to protest. So that was all done from Russia and actually influencing people to go out and protest. So I think that's one of the major issues that we have with social media. I don't know if an issue, but it's something we need to recognize, that social media and everything that starts on social media doesn't always end in social media. It goes on to the public, and that's why it's so important. So a few notes before we dive into more about social media. Social media algorithms shows more of what you've already indicated that you like. So if you're looking at a post, if you're even lingering a second over something on Facebook or on Instagram, there's more likelihood that this type of content will be presented to you later on. The way we use the app tend to keep us surrounded by information we're primed to believe and agree with. And because engagement is more important, is the most important thing, and we tend to engage with what most outrages, angers, and shocks us. So the more things will be outrageous and annoying, and we'll engage with them, the more we'll see them on social media. That's the algorithm of every social media platform. That's the way they are hooking you to stay on this platform. So the more you're on social media platform, it's important for all of us, and I'm trying to remind myself that that you might see the same content that will upset you the more time you spend there. So try and remember that, and every once in a while speak to real people outside of social media to make sure that that everything is that the reality is still out there. So on social media, there are a few rules that I'm using for my company. By the way, I forgot to say it in the beginning. My daytime job is social media. I'm a consultant for several organizations and campaigns, politicians outside of Israel, some in Africa, all over the world. Yeah, so that's my background in social media. All the Israel stuff I do because I'm really passionate about, and I'm sure like most of you here. Back to the presentation. So you have 6 seconds, and there's a picture of a goldfish because people have the attention span of a goldfish. I mean, people lose attention and lose interest in things so quickly. I'm sure we'll lose some people during this this presentation if I won't move fast enough. So I'll try and keep the pace. BuzzFeed has a rule for anything they put up there. It has to be relevant, it has to be entertaining, and it has to be short. So when you're posting something, when you're thinking of a social media post, try and remember these 3 elements and try and bring them into your post. Entertaining doesn't mean that that every post has to be funny. Entertaining means that it makes people feel something. Engagement. So what triggers strong viewer response? And I know it's all theoretic. This is the theoretical part. In a bit, we'll move into more practical things. But this is just to have the understanding of what works. So emotion, social proof, and practical view. So people, when they feel something about a post that you're posting, they're going to share it. They're going to engage with it. They will share it if it makes them look good. So we're going to remember that everyone has their own social media brand. You are creating your own brand with everything you post. If you post a Facebook post, if you tweet something, whatever you do, you're creating a brand, and everything you do is contributing to this brand. So try and remember that. And practical value, if people, now with the coronavirus, we can see how people are sharing information about the coronavirus. If it has practical value, people will share it. So remember that. So I just spoke about the personal brand. So we're creating a personal brand. We're making who we are on social media. We're characterizing ourselves on social media. And that's something that is important to remember and important to differentiate between the platforms. And we'll talk about that in a minute as well. So how we can present the Mizrahi story and why is it important? So the Mizrahi Sephardi story, I think is important not only for Mizrahim, I think it's important for all Jews. From what I'm seeing on social media and in campuses and communities around the world, mostly in America, Canada, and UK, the narrative has been formed that Israel is this white colonial country, that everyone in Israel are white, and that we're oppressing the brown people in the Middle East, which couldn't be, further from the truth. As someone that is half Iraqi and half North African, half Tunisian, I'm trying to bring that to life with my social media activism, with my talks. I think that once people understand how diverse the Jewish world is, and that we all started in the Middle East, we all are indigenous to Judea, we all started from there. We scattered around the world. Some of us got to Spain, the Sephardi community, moved to North Africa. Some of us stayed in Babylon, like my family from the Iraqi side and my Tunisian side. It's important to tell these stories because when people hear that 55% of Israeli Jews are actually Jews from the Middle East and North Africa, and that combining with the 20% Israeli Arab population, Israel is a Middle Eastern country. And even though we uphold values that are very similar to Western ideas and democratic values, so much so that we just went to a 3rd election and people are talking about 4th election as if it's just normal. A lot of us oppose it, but the fact that we're talking about such democratic act in order to decide who will be in our government just shows you how Israel respects democratic values. But I think once we explain to people the diversity of the Jewish community and specifically the makeup of Jews in Israel, it's changing the whole narrative. So why does the story matters? First of all, justice, and justice can mean a lot of things for a lot of people. For my grandmother, it means that her story will be told, and that people will recognize what happened to her and the atrocities that happened to her community. The anti-Israel narrative online that I touched on, it's really focusing on how Israel is this white country. Neo-Nazi narrative that we're seeing online is very much surrounding this idea that Jews are trying to replace the white race in their crazy mind, but the fact that again, majority of Jews in Israel are not have nothing to do with Europe and never been to Europe, maybe visited on a trip, really helps breaking that down. Erasure of Mizrahim is something that we're seeing a lot, and that's a point that I'll touch on. I'm seeing a lot of criticism to Israel and people that are very strong opponents of the existence of the state of Israel from the Jewish community. It's usually coming from people that are not aware of the existence of Mizrahim. I think that the more we explain to them that Mizrahim exists, the better they understand it, and they are becoming less hostile towards the existence of Israel. The narrative that a lot of non-Mizrahi Jews in the West were raised on is that there's two sides to this conflict, one side that is white, one side that is brown, and the brown people are being oppressed by the white side. And I think once they understand that the majority of Israeli Jews are Jews from the Middle East, as I said, that Israel is a very Middle Eastern country, from food to music. Everything about Israel is very Middle Eastern because it's also geographically located in the Middle East. Once they understand that, they can see things differently. And then they ask themselves, wait, why am I advocating for one type of Middle Easterns on the one side and not the other side of, it's just, I mean, even the claim of racism becomes so ridiculous. And I see it online on social media when people are telling me, Mizrahim are so racist towards Arabs. And once they understand that it's not racism, that for many Mizrahim, their criticism towards Arab countries is trauma, and they can relate to this trauma, we can make a real impact and change people's mind. It's also part of Jewish identity and Jewish history and recognition. I really hope and I believe that once this story is being heard more, we can achieve recognition to this community. And maybe I don't want to dream too big, and I don't want to get the claims to my land back in Iraq and in Tunisia, or the $30 billion or $150 billion in property that was stolen from us. I don't think we'll get it, but I'm hopeful, and I think that recognition is the right way to achieve that. So where to look for information about Mizrahim? And I know it's hard to find it because Jewish media is not very Mizrahi orientated. So I give you a few examples here. You have Jimena, which you all know now if you're in this webinar. They provide amazing information. JewishRefugees.blogspot.com. It's an amazing website that has a lot of information about the Middle Eastern Jews. Jewish Journal is one of the only publications in America that writes in English and really combines Mizrahi culture in it. So I would recommend that as well. And for more information, approved by Lynn Julius. She's a phenomenal writer that really outlines the story of those 850,000 Jewish refugees from the Middle East and North Africa in a way that was never done before in English. So I think that's also an important read. On social media, so I'm giving you a few examples of accounts that you can look up later. You can take a screenshot, and if not, I'll send the presentation. But we'll go through them because I think some of them have very unique ways to advocate on social media, and gives you some good ideas on how to do it yourself. So let's start with Yasmin here. Yasmin is a good friend of mine, Mizrahi activist. You can see Yasmin's screen. Yeah, can someone nod if you can see it? The Instagram account? Yeah, okay, thank you. So Yasmin is a good example. She's using her social media to advocate for Mizrahi Jews. She's using Instagram stories that we'll go over how to do it best after. her post is, while there are some pictures of her, there's also a picture of me here, but there's also information that I'll show you later, how to create those graphics in an easy way. So that's Yasmin. That's a good example of how to use your Instagram account to, while you're posting pictures of yourself, also to use it for political statement. A Twitter account that I really enjoy is this one, Jenny BNS. Someone is asking questions. Let me see. I'll get to this question in a second. So Jenny, what she's doing on Twitter, she's creating those thread of information. A lot of times when you post just a link on Twitter, people don't click it, or they just like it and move on. It's really important to break it down for people. And just as I said before, people have a short attention span. So Jenny is basically writing down information about different topics relating to Mizrahi Jews, private collections of pictures and videos, and her threads are really informative. We'll talk about how the importance of adding videos and pictures to everything you're posting, but her stuff is really important. So I would also recommend to follow her and really use this type of tweeting, that you can create a short thread of 2 to 3 tweets with pictures and information of whatever topic that. And by the way, this presentation, I'm going to speak about Mizrahim and Israel, but you can use it in everything you do in your life. So I hope that this will help. That was another example. And you have other examples here of people to follow. I know that Mati Friedman also has a webinar with Jimena in a bit, right? You can follow
Next
Jimena.
week on Sunday, 10:30 a.m.
Okay, yeah. So
Please
Mati
join
Friedman,
us.
Yeah, definitely join him. He's a brilliant writer and has done so much for advocating for Mizrahi Jews, and it's very important. So those are just some examples of website to follow. I'll send you the screenshot after so you can follow it if you don't yet. So how do we advocate better for Israel online? And that's a bit of theoretical, but we'll get to the practical in a minute. So the 10-80-10, it's a rule of thumb for us to always remember that whenever we speak to an audience or to a person, unless we're alone with this person in a room, there's always 10% that will be on our side, 10% that will be against us, and 80% in the middle. What does it mean when we speak about Israel? When I'm arguing with Linda Sarsour online and she says that Israel has no right to exist and that we oppress gay people, and I'm saying, wait, I'm gay. And she says, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Happens, really, it's a true story. The rule and what we need to remember is that probably 10% will be totally on our side and they will never change their mind. And there's another 10% will be on the opposite side, anti-Israel people that will probably not going to change their mind no matter what you'll say. And there's 80% in the middle, 80% of people that still haven't made up their mind. And these are the people that we want to focus on. These are the people that we want to change their mind. And so when I'm arguing with Linda Sarsour, I'll never start calling her names or using derogatory terms, because that will reflect badly on me. So that's something that we all need to remember when we speak to people online, not only in regards to Israel, but I think it's important for the pro-Israel community to remember that whatever you're saying in an argument about Israel and you're representing the Israeli side of the map, whatever you're going to say is going to reflect on Israel. So bear that in mind. No, Israel is not perfect. So what? A lot of times we're so caught up in this, Israel has to be perfect no matter what. We can't hear any criticism. If we hear criticism, we're getting very upset, and it's fine because it's emotional and it's personal. I know for a fact every time when I started doing this, I heard people saying things about Israel online, and I got super upset, and I felt like I had to comment on everything. And with time, I learned that it's okay that the country makes mistakes. I think Israel should be judged by how it's dealing with its mistakes. And we can criticize Israel and we can say things about Israel that we dislike. But what we need to remember is that and that's the 5th point, that we criticize in policies and leadership, but we don't criticize people. We don't criticize Israel as a country or its existence. We don't criticize Palestinians as people. It's important to remember that. IRA is your friend. If you Google IRA definition, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, if you Google it later, they have a definition of anti-Semitism. It's one of the most effective tools that we can use today, because we're in a time that everyone is saying that anti-Semitism is so many different things, but it's definitely not what Jews say that it is, because who cares what Jews say anti-Semitism is? Some people care. So you can use the IRA definition. It gives you a great outline of what anti-Semitism means. And when you are in an argument and someone is gaslighting you and telling you that you're wrong about anti-Semitism, you can say, you know what? Don't listen to me, listen to the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. This is what they say. So it's really helpful. Not everyone are anti-Semitic. It's important to remember it. And I need to remind myself that every day, especially on Twitter, because it feels like a lot of people are. So let's remember that there are people that are really curious and they really want to learn more. And each and every one of us can make a difference in their lives by teaching them something new. We're all ambassadors of education, so let's remember that when we're engaging with people online. Engage and don't attack. Commenting on news and major social media accounts, that's very important. And I know that people sometimes are getting so frustrated with different media channels. If it's Fox News or CNN, I know people have different political opinions, and that's fine. But you have a voice, and on social media, you can actually use it. When you comment on a social media account, you don't know the people that are going to look at it. A lot of people, when they see news item, they click on the news. They don't click on the website. They click on the post to see the comments to the post. So you can make a difference with commenting. So I encourage you to comment on things that you disagree with. Changing my person's mind, changing the world. It's a very Jewish idea. You're saving one life, you're saving a world. So changing one mind, you can change the world, I think. All right, so Tachlis, what are we doing? We're gonna touch on each platform and speak a bit about each social media platform, how it's unique. I'm not gonna go to all the platforms because I still haven't used my TikTok account as well as I wanted to. But we're going to go through the major ones, the Facebook, and then Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So Facebook, a few things to remember about Facebook. We always use, whenever we're posting something on Facebook, post it with a picture or a video. Short videos do well. No matter what you do, don't just post text. I mean, unless you're posting it in a way of to make it into a thing like this. So if you do that, you can, it will actually have a good reach. Otherwise, I wouldn't just post text. I don't recommend it. The stories on top here are very useful. Use them. They can make people see them up. And today, specifically on Facebook, we're in, think of Facebook as a big billboard, and there's different ads or not a billboard, like a wall with different ads on it. There's a very limited space, and today I think it's 5% of people are actually can view your post. So it's important to make sure people view your content, and the way to do it is to use rich content, and also use the story option, because it can really make a difference to your viewers, and people actually engage with this content very well. Instagram. So this is my Instagram. You can see this. There's some color scheme. It is called ish. There's like similar colors in each line. So that's a tactic to get people to follow your account, because when people go to a new account, they usually just go to the main page and they see the different pictures, and you want it to be visually appealing for people to follow. So this method, some people do it with the whole 3 first lines, but if you do every 3 posts, make sure that the colors are quite similar. It's going to help you get more followers, gain more followers. Stories on Instagram are super important. I wish I could show you stories and how to make them. I mean, I actually can. Maybe we'll just move to the camera for a minute. So how to use the Instagram stories in a better way. I'll just stop the sharing for a minute. So this is how you get, so to get to the story, you just swipe it, and then you see my dirty kitchen. We don't want to look at that. I'll just click that. Okay, so a few cool tactics that cool features that Instagram stories have. You can add stickers, you can add filters, but this is your friend. So all of those things are going to really contribute for your engagement. Use all of the tools here. I think each and every one of them can really make a huge difference for your followers and get them more engaged. Really recommend the quiz, the questions, the countdowns. How much do you like a picture? This is also people love telling you what they think. Specifically Jews, but in general, people like to tell you what they think, specifically Jewish mothers as well. Use locations and time and mentions. It's really a great tool, and tag people because they can share it if it's relevant to them. So that's I really highly recommend Instagram story. I know a lot of people today don't even go down to like scroll through Instagram posts. They're just staying on the story part. So make sure you utilize that. I'll just go for questions for a minute. Hey Chen, what do you say to people who say it is white versus brown in Israel and that the Mizrahim are oppressed by the Ashkenazim in Israel too, so therefore Israel shouldn't exist because it's racist? Respect is key. So that's coming from Rainbow Zionist. It's a good point. I mean, we can't ignore the fact that there was Mizrahim when they arrived to Israel, just like every Aliyah, face challenges that we face until today, and it's something that we're trying to improve our representation in different sectors of Israel society. But I think we are in a much better place than where Israel was 20, 30, 60 years ago, and it's a process. But when you look at the Mizrahi community, you see how our representation is improving throughout the years, and it's not the graphs are not, the curve is going up in a positive way rather than with the corona. So I think it's something that we need to understand, that every community, when they came to Israel, every Aliyah faced it. Even Romanian Jews, when they came to Israel, they faced it, although their skin is lighter than Middle Eastern people. But I don't think it's an issue of race, rather an issue of absorbing communities that are coming. I mean, but the bottom line is that this is not, we can discuss this and we can speak about this, but it doesn't negate from Israel's right to exist. We can start a conversation as long as people can understand and can agree that Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish and democratic state. I've learned that TikTok has the most uncensored forms of anti-Semitism. TikTok has a lot of anti-Semitism, and I encourage the young guys in the audience to use TikTok to call out anti-Semitism there. Do you base Israel's legitimacy slowly on Mizrahim? Absolutely not. Of course not. Israel's right to exist is because it has a right to exist. The Jews have a right to exist in their ancestral homeland. It doesn't matter if Jews came from Ethiopia or if they came from Germany or if they came from Iraq. Every Jew, we're called Jews because we came from Judea. I'm teaching I have a goddaughter in Seattle that I'm doing online classes with her every other day, and and we're just talking about what happened to the Jews in Judea and how they moved to Babylon and how from Babylon they moved all over the world, and how unique being Jewish is, because it's an ethnicity and a religion, but I can be a secular Jew. That's what Zionism was all about, to create this Jewish identity that is so diverse. So of course not, it's not just Mizrahim, but it's helping countering the arguments that we're hearing online. Going back to the point you made about the lack of recognition of our narrative, why do you think this is, and no one makes movies about us, etc.? Yeah, I can take the approach of telling you why we are unrepresented in the media and in movies and so on, and blame other people. I think a lot of it comes from also our responsibility. Mizrahim have to speak up and have to be proud of their heritage and push our story more. I mean, the more people will hear about it, the more they will know. And I don't know if every Hollywood Jewish director knows about the Mizrahim, or even if they do know, I don't know if they care to put it in their stories. They're writing stories about their own experience. I love to see the marvelous Miss Maisel, amazing TV show, amazing show, but I didn't feel represented as a Mizrahi Jew. So I told myself, I need to do more with it. And I'm actually looking into more directors in Hollywood that will be interested in promoting this. So I think it's up to us to do better in advocating for ourselves, and we can make a difference. I really think it's up to us. I think a lot of anti-Zionists see it as that's an interesting point. We'll go back to the presentation. So we spoke about Oh, you can't see my screen. I'll share it. Sorry. Okay. So we spoke about Instagram. Twitter is also an important platform to use. I would say keep your tweets short, make them interesting. Look at it as poems. I don't know if you're writing poems, but I always look at my tweets as a poem. And the tweets that I craft as a poem and I write them and rewrite them and edit them are the ones that are doing the best. On Twitter, it's very easy to fall into arguments with Russian trolls. I assume they're Russian. With trolls from all over the world. Try to stay focused and if you're arguing with someone, just remember to do the 5%, the 10%, 80%, 10%. So you just want to make sure that you're being you're being the best you can and representing your side the best you can. Okay, back to the presentation. So we spoke about the different platforms and how to use them better. We'll go to some tips and tricks, and then I'm going to leave some time for Q&A. So you'll have all the time for all the other questions. So I mentioned rich content, always doing better. If I look at all of my clients and the social media accounts that my company runs for them, we see that just text, specifically on Facebook, doesn't do as well. So use as much content as you can, like use pictures. Videos are the best. 20 seconds videos is something that I highly recommend. Even 10 seconds if you can, it's even better. But if you have to, you can do it 25 seconds. No, but shorter videos really doing well. Use all the tools. I mentioned some tools on Instagram and on Facebook. Story feature, which is really important to use. Learn when your followers are online. I know that it sounds like it's something that only big companies can do, but you can go to the statistics and analytics of your Facebook account and your Twitter account and see how each tweet is doing, how each post on Facebook is doing, whatever platform you're using, and learn from it. And understand that sometimes if the content, if your post didn't do that well, maybe change the way you're doing it next time and try and learn from it, and learn when your followers are online. So I know that when I posted around 3 p.m. Israel time, it's doing the best because my followers are some of them are in the UK and some in North America, so that's the perfect time for me to post online. And I'm sure you have this, you know what time posting specific content is doing better. Try and stay at the same time if it's doing all right. Engage with others. I spoke about that, and also in your comments, it's amazing what a like for a person's comment can do to him. I know personally, every time people like my comments and stuff, I'm like super excited. So you can. It doesn't cost you anything, so why not? It makes people feel good, and that's important. Engage with others. Oh, said that. Comment on big accounts. We said that. Be active daily. Every day, try and post something, even if you can't be bothered. Like, it's important because it keeps your account active, and don't overpost on the other hand. So 2 posts a day, 3 posts a day on Facebook. Twitter, you can post as much as you can, but not try and, like, if you have like 5 tweets that you want to tweet in the same time, keep them for and tweet each one in a different hour. Just keep them in with a space, because it shows up on people's accounts and on their threads, on their feed, and you want to stay up there. Follow trends and join the conversation. When people, the way people discover new accounts, a big, one way that they're doing it is through going to the search part of Facebook or on Instagram or on Twitter, and they're looking at trends. So if you're talking about a trend, something that's trending, you have a good chance to be up there. So try and speak about trends. be sassy, but be careful. My God, I need to like print it out and post it on my living room and just remind myself all the time that I'm very sassy online, and I think it's good in some ways. I mean, be sarcastic, it's funny, it's engaging, but don't overdo it. I mean, I call everyone babes because I think it's cute, but I learned that I can't call everyone babes. So don't call everyone babes. That's that's advice. But yeah, just be respectful. And you're building your brand again. We spoke about it before, but that's the important part. You're building a brand. Everything you do is contributing to this brand. I would say I divided between Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So Facebook, looking at reaching audience that is more mature. On Instagram, it's for younger audience because it's a very visual platform also. So it's less about what I write. It's also about what I write, but not only. It's more about how visually appealing it is. And on Twitter, it's just being carefully sassy. So giving opinions and comments on different political issues and news items. So some tips that you can use. You can start your own free blog or a website on Wix or on Times of Israel, or there's so many platforms, WordPress, Medium. You don't have to, to wait until a big publication until a big publication would reach out to you to write. You can write things, and I started writing by just drafting stuff and sending it out there. I send it to my friends to go over and see what they think. But I mean, I really encourage you. It's such an amazing tool to bring up ideas, and people actually read them. So start a blog. Canva.com. This is where I want to show you an amazing platform. Probably many of you know it, but it's important for the ones that don't. It's such an amazing platform. It not only that it's you can create everything online and it's free to sign up. It gives you amazing what's the word? English. Like formats. That's the word. For different social media platforms, for documents, for personal, for education. So I go to Canva after this and look around and play with it. It's really an amazing tool that can change your social media game. iMovie is so easy. I really encourage all of you to use iMovie or whatever movie editing program you have. Play with it, add some music to your videos, make them nice. It goes a long way. Know your memes. So you can always get the recent memes from Know Your Memes. They'll give you the most trending memes in a different time and whenever you look at it. So it's cool tool to use. Adobe Spark is also an amazing tool. After this, Google Adobe Spark and download it and play with it. You can create videos, short videos from just images or text. So it's really can up your game. I also encourage you to use Giphy. I don't know if I mean I don't know the level of each one, but for me it's one of the most enjoyable platforms. You can get stickers, you can get GIFs, you can create memes. So I also encourage you to use that platform as well. And going back to the presentation, I want to make sure I'm giving you at least 15 minutes for questions. Okay, yeah, so we're done. Rosa Parks said once, the only tired I was tired of giving in. So I want to leave you with this because I, on social media and in general doing this, like fighting for Israel and the Jewish people gets tiring. Everyone thought that Rosa Parks was this tired woman that just wanted to have a seat, but she wasn't. She was very politically active and she wanted to make a difference. And I want you all to take it and remind ourselves that we can't be tired, and the only tired we can be is tired of giving in. And now it's time for you. So if you have questions, you can write on the chat. Oh, wow, there are a lot of questions in the chat. So I'll go to the chat. Okay, so I'll try and answer some of them. If anyone wants to open their mic and ask, it's also possible. Let me know. Just you can click raise your hand or tell me, or just unmute yourself. Let's see. I've read that GIFs are super powerful on Twitter specifically. Yes, definitely they are. Deborah, I think we're starting to speak up now as the only Jews in the yeah, it's very important to bring Mizrahi stories to the stage, and we're all trying to do it. And I love to see this trend that everyone are part of it, and it's a lot of people in our community are speaking up, and it's makes a real difference. Logan, a dear friend of mine, I also encourage you to follow Logan Levkov after on Twitter and on social media. She says, how do you take a subject that Zionism and anti-Semitism that is so complex and nuanced and put it into something that is 280 characters or less? In my own professional field, this is so challenging too. Anti-Semitic, anti-Zionist people don't worry, don't care about being thoughtful and nuanced. This is really good point, and it's something we have to bear in mind, that we might not be able to make our all of our case, and it's important to counter some of the arguments with snippets of information and as short as possible. It's very difficult, and a lot of times we can't really cover. I mean, the amount of lies that we're seeing out there and the things that they're saying, these people have no respect to the truth whatsoever. So I would say try and answer specific issues every time, and try and cover as much as you can in different times. But yeah, it's very difficult. I would just break it down as much as we can. I mean, I think that's the only way we can do it. Michelle, hey Michelle, is the analytics feature only for business account? Can you walk us through how to view that feature? So yeah, I can definitely do that. It's only for business accounts on Instagram. So only if you change your account to public, you can see it. So I guess it's not that relevant, but I think you can use your, I mean, it depends. If you're a private account, it's a different thing. But if you're a public account, turn your Instagram account into a business account, just because it gets more exposure, and then you can see the analytics in Instagram. Mira Haber said, if you're not Mizrahi, how can one go about increasing recognition of the Mizrahi Jews without seeming like you're using them as a tool to advocate for Israel, or people legitimizing your opinion because you yourself aren't Mizrahi? And maybe people nowadays, especially on Twitter, give a lot less room for people who are not part of the struggle to speak out about it. Yeah, it's a good point. I think you're, if you're a Jew, or if you care about this issue, you should be able to speak about it. I don't think you're using Mizrahim as a tool, and I think you're just increasing the understanding about this community. I personally don't think it's a problem. And you know what? And if anyone ever tells you, don't speak for Mizrahim, don't use them as a tool, tag me, and I'll take care of it. So you should be able to speak about it. Don't worry, and you have the backing of Mazzig. I agree that we have to speak up for ourselves, but I wonder if that is enough. There has been a lot of advocacy by Mizrahim over the last decades, but for example, Yad Vashem is still not added the Farud to their exhibition. How to advocate for inter-community issues and against heteronormativity without anti-Zionist hijacking this conversation as a proof to display Israel as racist, white supremacist. Oh my God, this is my life, because every day I have to deal with this. I don't want to harm, I don't want to hurt Ashkenazim, and I don't want to hurt my community. And I do see us as one community. The only reason I speak about Mizrahi is because I want to expand the conversation and to help all of us, and it's a constant struggle to not hurt Ashkenazim. That most Ashkenazim are, most of the Ashkenazim that I know, my friends, my family members, that married my family members, amazing people that want Mizrahim to prosper, that cares about our story, that want to speak about it. There's a minority, specifically in Williamsburg, no, I'm kidding, specifically in America, that is that they don't know much about Mizrahim, and they created this, this narrative in their mind that Jews are white and that we're all white, and Mizrahim are really hurting this narrative. So it's all about being very careful, and when we, and I personally, when I learned that I have to, whenever we're talking about how Mizrahim are underrepresented in American Jewish media, or in different Jewish platforms or forums, I would speak about Jews in general and Jewish spaces rather than targeting Ashkenazim. I don't think it's contributing to speak about about Ashkenazim in this way. So I'm trying to do it. It's very hard, and and I change my strategy as I go. Yeah, it's a difficult question. I'll just say, bear in mind that we are one family and we're in it together, and you don't want to alienate Ashkenazi Jews by telling them that we want Mizrahim to be better represented. Is Facebook dead? What about Facebook groups? Definitely, Facebook groups is a great tool to use. I forgot to touch on it. Join Facebook groups, become part of the conversation. It's amazing. I mean, it's an amazing way to get people involved in different topics. Specifically on Israel, there's countless of groups. You can just find them by looking up Israel, Jews, so on. My family is from Morocco, and some people, this is Eliza. My family is from Morocco, and some people say we are Sephardim, while others say we are Mizrahim. I've always been a bit confused, as I thought we were sort of a mix, not sure what to self-identify as. So that's something that a lot of Mizrahim and Sephardim are confused about. So it depends how you define yourself. If you want to define it based on in a religious way, so a lot of Mizrahim are also identify as Sephardim because they follow the Sephardi tradition. I know that Sephardi Jewish scholars came to the Middle East with their way of praying, and they taught a lot of Mizrahim in it, but Mizrahim, a lot of them were already praying in this way, so there was also an argument there. When the Mizrahim came to Israel, the first Aliyah to Israel from the Middle East, there was a big debate about it, and they titled everyone that came from the Middle East as Sephardim, and there was this dichotomic separation between Sephardim and Ashkenazim. But Mizrahim is basically anyone that is from the Middle East and North Africa with no roots in Spain or Portugal. Some North African Jews had ancestry in Spain and Portugal because after the Inquisition, a lot of them reached North Africa and they stayed there for hundreds of years. So it's really about how you identify. I identify as Mizrahi first because I have no background in my family was never in Spain, or my ancestors were never in Spain, but also because it's for me it's more of a Jewish identity that is not just religious, and that's why. But it's up to you. You can choose how you want to identify. I feel like Mizrahi also has some political connotation to it. Elisheva said, how do you know when you're overposting? You're overposting when we find that usually your post will get 10 likes, and all of a sudden, the third post or the fourth is getting 1 or 2 likes. So I would say take a break, a few hours, and come back to post. Try and be measured with it. Any tips to specifically speak to anti-Zionist Jewish people, Ashkenazi generally, who speak out against Israel to be considered the good Jews? Yeah, I know, the good Jews and the bad Jews. How do you play on social media? Okay, that's a different question. I think that when I speak to anti-Zionists, I'm always asking them, because they always make it about how Israel treats Arabs and how badly it treats Arabs, and I'm saying, well, I mean, there is 55% of Israeli Jews that are Jews from the Middle East and North Africa, while they were never considered Arabs in their countries where they came from. They came to Israel, and if you want to talk about it in a race way, I mean, in which race is treating another race differently, the majority of the racial population in Israel is Middle Eastern one. So the concept of them being racist to people from the same area and the same background that they had is a bit absurd. So I don't think it's about race, and I think that's something that works with those people, if that makes sense. How do you plan social media posts and content without getting overwhelmed and also trying to be organized and strategic? Do you use social media planning tools from Hootsuite? Yeah, definitely. I use Hootsuite and Buffer, but it's a bit more advanced. So, but if you're looking to plan your social media and use it in a more professional level, I would recommend Hootsuite and Buffer. Buffer is a great platform to schedule your tweets or your posts. Even if you're asleep, it can be posted. I'm using Buffer because I'm going to sleep and I get my tweets going in time when my followers are still awake. I love it, inter-community, doing this with Sephardic and same leftist professor. Deborah is saying leftist professors at universities like to talk about Arab Jews instead of, oh yeah, I know. Instead of Israeli Jews, it's part of their reference to the golden age. Arabs and Jews live peacefully together, etc. Comment on the term Arab Jews. It's like you're following me on social media and know how upset I am with this term. I really dislike the term Arab Jews. I think it's disconnect. Jews were Jews in the middle. Mizrahi Jews were Jews in the Middle East way before there was an Arab empire, and it's important to understand we were never referred to as Arab Jews. Being an Arab was something that, according to my grandparents and according to historic facts, and unlike what those professors are talking about, and those professors are really highlighting a minority of Jews from the Middle East, Mizrahi Jews, that are now reclaiming a term that was never used. The term Arab was used to describe the population in the Middle East that was Muslim population and that was part of this empire. And it's an imperialistic term that was designed to really erase minorities and keep them in their place, to keep the dhimmis, the protected minorities, in their place. So you are protected as long as you're paying your fees. And you always recognize an empire by language. You know, I speak English because English is an imperial language. French is an imperial language. Spanish is an imperial language. And Arabic is also an imperial language because it was promoted through colonialism of the Middle East. And we are so used to seeing the Arab world as it is today. But you know, you see all these countries that are speaking Arabic. They're speaking Arabic because they're part of the Arab empire that Nasser was creating with the Arabization of the Middle East. So it's insulting, I think personally, but some Jews want to identify this way, fine. But I think it's very insulting to call Jews Arab Jews. They were never considered Arab Jews, and to say now it's to really cut off our connection to the land of Israel and where we're from in the Middle East, and it's erasing the history of oppression that we face by imperial colonial forces in the Middle East. And by the way, going back to this, to the way to recognize an empire, when you look at Hebrew, there's only one place people speak Hebrew, and that's you know, that's all you need to say when people say that Israel is an imperial colonial project. Where are the colonies where we teach our subjects to speak our language? You know, maybe in New Jersey, but I don't know. Thanks for the clarification. Any other questions before we're wrapping up? Wow, I did it exactly in an hour. I was so stressed that I'm going to be over time, but any other questions, anyone? I saw a lot of familiar faces, so I'm really happy to see all of you joining. Thank you. Keep up the important work. If you ever need me on social media, if you get into an argument and you want to call your friends, just tag me. I'll join in. I won't let anyone mess with you. Yeah, Sapir, any other things from?
Yeah, someone asked at the chat where they can see this video afterwards. So you can just go to Jemena Facebook page, Jemena Jews Indigenous to the Middle East and North Africa. This session was live as well, so you can watch it afterwards. And I also want to thank Chen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Sapir, and thanks, Jemena, for incredible work. Like, I can't tell you like how helpful it is to know that Jemena is out there, that there's an organization that cares about my community, that represents us. It's been I know you existed for a while, but it took us so long to start working together. So I'm just like really happy to have Jemena. And thank you everyone for joining. Really appreciate it, and stay safe, please.
Thank you, Chen. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. Bye.